bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here. It is a Friday edition. We've got lots of stuff to get into. We have a new segment today, getting you ready for the FA Cup this weekend. We have Mike Conti joining us at 10 o'clock. Lots of MLS things from yesterday, U.S. men's national team things, American soccer things. We'll get into those in hour number 2, but let's start with the news of the morning. Felipe Coutinho is at Aston Villa. This is a done deal. Looks like Villa's going to pick up the majority of his salary this year. There is an option to buy going forward, but the loan is just for the rest of the year. John, what does this do for a Villa team that has already changed their manager this season? They bring in somebody that has played alongside Coutinho, and it seems like Coutinho is going to be really tasked with moving Villa up the table.
Yeah, and motivated to do so. And when you have a motivated player in this particular case, wanted to return to England, wanted to play regularly, and from all indications, Coutinho sees Villa as a club that is, according to Sky, building something special for the future. And so when you have that kind of motivation, obviously expectations are heavy. Can Coutinho match those expectations with output and as many points as possible in matchups when Villa gets out there on the pitch in the Prem?
Should expectations be heavy?
Oh, wow. I'm thinking, when you have a player of Coutinho's status, stature, and expectation, I think that's the natural gravitation to have that kind of an expectation coming out of the blocks. You have a reputation that precedes you.
Does he still have that reputation, though?
And that's I think that a lot of folks look at what has been accomplished instead, and this is at first blush. I always kind of look at players that have a lot of gaps in their productivity, and a lot of folks, especially fans coming out of the blocks, they'll sit there and they'll look at the high points, and they want those high points. They may not necessarily look at what's been happening recently. They'll come up with some kind of an idea as to, oh, well, it was because of A, B, C, D, or E that things weren't happening for him. The fans coming in will sit there and look at all of the high points first and sit there and say, yeah, we're getting that. I think it's more of a self-imposed expectation by the fans when it comes to Aston Villa. I'm thinking that Coutinho may grow into the season. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of instant gratification when it comes to bringing in a player like this. So for me, my expectations are more tempered that he grows into the season. I anticipate that a lot of Villa followers are going to sit there and look at what he's done in the past and anticipate that that's what they're going to see off the top, though.
How far back in the past are you going for that? I mean, to be realistic here, this is a player who in the last 2 seasons has played 24 league matches, has started 13, scored 4 goals. His maybe most impactful time while he was under contract to Barcelona was when he scored 2 goals against Barcelona for Bayern in the 8-2 thrashing. He had 8 goals in 15 league starts, 23 games for Bayern in 2019, 2020. His 2 years at Barcelona before that, he had 13 goals in the league. He only had 1 double-digit goal season, and I think that's what a lot of people are maybe mistakenly expecting from Coutinho is a lot of output in terms of goals. He scored 13 for Liverpool in the 2016-17 season. He's had some 8s and some 7s. Who else is around him if he is not the goal scorer that maybe some are painting him as, if he's more of a creator? Who else is around him for him to create with?
Well, I mean, you're obviously drawn to folks like Ollie Watkins, and I know that what we saw from Watkins last year was it was a surprise coming up from the championship. And is someone like a Coutinho going to help get those numbers back up to what they saw last year? And so,
Well, they saw last year in the championship,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
yeah. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that to me is you're looking for partners, and obviously for me that's the one that you gravitate toward immediately in that idea. So I think I'm looking at it, like I said, I'm looking at this as more of a slow burn, although I just you look at the price tag and you look at the initial price tag from the sale, and if everything that is coming out publicly is close to accurate, you're looking at Villa getting someone for basically one quarter of what was spent in that Barcelona
Well,
transaction.
no. That's not accurate to say, John, because it's a loan. It's a loan for the rest of the season. So, I mean, it's a loan for the rest of the season.
Right.
It's not about the transaction with Barcelona because Barcelona paid the transfer fee. Now, is there a number on if they want to make it permanent?
And I've heard 23 million. It was
Okay.
the number that if it turns into something permanent, then that's the number that they're looking at. Is
That's the
somewhere.
transfer. Okay. So if they make it permanent, then yeah, it's a bargain. It's also 5 years down the road. So it should be less than the Barcelona deal. But yeah,
Right.
anyway, got it.
So I think that if you can bring him in and have a partner, and you're always looking for that one you're always looking for a one and a two, and especially as you're trying to work your way up the table, if you can bring Coutinho along and have that partner, I think that the success will be there. It'll be measured, it won't be immediate, but I think that if you can get that partner for him to help him get integrated and get to where folks are wanting him to be, I think that's going to be key.
Villa, if their plan is for Coutinho to unlock a player who was successful in the championship last year and expect him to score goals like he did in the championship last year in the Premier League this year, I hope they have a better plan than that. That's not very realistic because it's kind of a different level. Coutinho is going to be incredibly motivated because he's trying to get into the Brazilian squad for the World Cup. It is a World Cup year. He wants to go somewhere where he feels like he can do that. I don't know outside of Barcelona saying, "Yeah, man, we gotta unload you because we can't really keep doing this payment thing and all that, and we need to share. We need to get some money, get players in different positions, et cetera, et cetera." Um, I mean, when you look at it on paper, is Villa going to be a better highlight spot for him than Barcelona to get noticed? That's I don't think an easy sell,
Yeah.
to be honest. Neither's in the Champions League the rest of the way, but Barcelona is in the Europa League. Uh, it's an opportunity to reset, and that's probably the biggest thing for Coutinho because no matter what he has around him at Barcelona and the opportunity of being at a Barcelona, he's also weighed down by the failure of that deal because I think you do have to look at it overall as a failure. It was a lot of money for a player who hasn't been bad. I mean, let's not overdo it here about Coutinho at Barcelona. It's not like he's been a bum and hasn't been able to get on the field. It's just he hasn't been what they paid for, which they overpaid.
Right.
So is that on him? Probably not. You go back to a quote, I think, when all this was going on originally, when he was still at Liverpool, and Jurgen Klopp, paraphrasing, said, if you stay here, they'll build you a statue. If you go somewhere else, you'll just be another good player. And that's kind of what he's turned into. Now, going to Villa puts back that kind of a, hey, you're gonna be the man. And it's not a knock on Aston Villa. It's just you're going to get potentially a Brazilian national team player in what should be roughly his prime, wearing that Villa shirt and pulling the strings. And I think what a lot of people have pointed out, and I completely agree, is when Coutinho went to Barcelona, you weren't going to play through him because you're going to play through Lionel Messi. When Coutinho was at his best at Liverpool, he was the guy they played through. At Villa, he's the guy they'll play through.
Yeah.
That should help him, and that should make him feel more of a fit. We'll see. It's an interesting move. I wasn't sure if Barcelona was going to be able to pull something like this off, but this is where things are. A question from Alex Pacine about Ings
Yeah.
and Villa. How is Coutinho going to help unlock Ings?
Yeah, well, and when I was thinking about Danny Ings, the first thing for me is his health. When Danny Ings is on, we know what kind of a goal scorer he can be. Right now you're looking at Ollie Watkins with 5, Ings with 4, John McGinn with 3, and then you have Konsa and Ramsey with 2, and then everybody else has 1. And I can see, we talk about positional gravity a lot here in Atlanta with a guy like Joseph Martinez, and I think that what you could see with Coutinho and Ings and Watkins is the same thing. Since Coutinho is the new guy coming in from Barca, all of that attention, you're going to have defenders gravitate toward him, which could free up the other two. And so I think that could be something to keep an eye on as well when you're looking at Villa trying to create things offensively, is the folks drawn to Coutinho hopefully frees things up for others so they can close out their chances.
If center backs are being drawn to Coutinho and leaving forwards, then they're bad center backs. I think it's going to be more about Coutinho's going to have to beat midfielders first and going to have to set up opportunities once he gets in to create a 3v2 or a 2v1 kind of situation, to where a center back, then it's not about being drawn to them. It's you have to defend. It's going to be more of how teams prevent Coutinho from getting in those dangerous spots and how they make it difficult for him to break them down. That's where I'm going with it. And point of clarification, John, because I think that was your noise on the background. I'm not sure what that was.
It was.
Ollie Watkins was with Villa last year. He scored 14 goals last year. It was the year before that he came from the championship. So you're trying to unlock what he did last year. That makes a little more sense.
Yes. And I'm trying to work on my monitor and figure out why that happened, because it traditionally doesn't. So that was, it was an odd work. So anything's possible with this particular monitor today.
Monitor?
Yeah.
Monitors making noise on their own, John?
Yeah, they are, especially
no,
after.
What?
What?
No.
Seriously? Yes.
Last time I checked, monitors don't just make noise on their own. But okay, you might have a special monitor. I'm gonna leave that
I
one
always have
alone.
special equipment here. You know that.
No. AFCON starts this weekend on Sunday. Monitors are always the root cause, Matt Wagner. Absolutely. AFCON starts this weekend. Algeria trying to defend their title. They're on a long unbeaten run, including their triumph at the last edition, 2019. Feels like it's been forever. Riyad Mahrez is the star here. They really haven't been tested a whole lot over the last 2 years. But this tournament's going to be very weird because you're going to have these disruptions with COVID. You're going to have a wide variety of levels of teams. It's going to be an awkward month here in AFCON. Egypt, Morocco, and Tunisia are the other countries from North Africa that are generally contenders here. Morocco have been one that a lot of people have expected to make the jump up. They haven't been able to live up to it lately. When you get into West Africa, it's Ghana, it's Ivory Coast, it's Nigeria. None of them have actually been all that strong lately. Ivory Coast was beaten by Cameroon in World Cup qualifiers. Nigeria fired their coach last month and reportedly was trying to convince Jose Mourinho to take the job. They did win their World Cup qualifying group, but they fired their coach. Nigeria national team, Nigeria Federation gets a little weird sometimes. Cameroon had been in poor form until they beat Ivory Coast in that last World Cup qualifier in November. So they come in with some momentum. They did have some positives come into camp. Senegal is the team that a lot of people are expecting to push Algeria for the title. Senegal were runners up in 2019. They've gotten better. They've added many French-born players with Senegalese roots to their team. Sadio Mane will be a huge factor here. However, Senegal's departure to the tournament on Wednesday was delayed by 3 positive cases, so they have been delayed in getting into Cameroon. Cape Verde, had 21 individual positives at their pre-tournament training camp, and I don't know if that's all players. If it is, that's 21 of 28 that tested positive. The squad sizes for this tournament typically at a World Cup, a Euro, an AFCON, a Gold Cup, etc., 23-man rosters. This tournament allows 28. Cabo Verde, 21 individual positive cases at their pre-tournament training camp, and I don't know where things stand there.
And they are listed as their favorite. They are the second match of the tournament coming up on Sunday. They're 2:00 going up against Ethiopia. Currently, they're still listed as a minus favorite, a minus 120 going up against Ethiopia. So we'll see if that number changes when we figure out where these 21 individual cases are rooted.
I mean, that was at their camp, so they could have cleared up by now. Reporting is a little all over the place on the tournament. All that information was from Reuters from this morning that went out to the world wires. So we'll see. We'll see what they can do on Sunday. This is going to be a very different situation than we've seen with league play and with cups and stuff where you can postpone things. You don't really have time to postpone games. So if you've got teams that can't field a team, I don't know what you do. I mean, it almost feels like we're going back to a youth game or one of your local amateur games, and it's like, all right, you got 8 guys to play to start the game. Cool. You can fall down to 7 in the game, and if you fall down less than 7, then we're abandoning the match, and the other team wins.
Yep.
I mean, is that just where we're getting here with guys who are ruled out due to COVID? I don't know. I haven't seen anything about those policies. You're not going to be able to push games back, really, and I think this is the question I always ask when we get into this conversation of, well, is a game going to get pushed back, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you push it back a day, what does it do? Outside of guys who might be at the end of a quarantine or isolation period, or maybe being able to get their second negative test, if that's the rule, or just a negative test to be able to participate. I mean, a day doesn't really change anything dramatically here. So this is where you're at as your monitor continues to go off, John. Your monitor hates you this morning.
It does. I don't know why. But do we get to the walkover point? Does it turn into 3-0 walkovers? It's like, we don't have any space in the schedule and we can't push it back because of travel or what have you. Do we just end up with a lot of walkovers if this is the case?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you're going to be able to do. It's just down to the time frame. You're not going to be able to push games back because of the schedule. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure we'll get more information as we get closer to Sunday with the first games about teams that have had positives and what things look like. Question before we get into FA Cup from Walchara. Is it possible for Atlanta to get Ola Kamara? Looking at goal history, he'd be a perfect backup for Joseph. This is the problem when we get into this conversation, Walchara. Yeah, to you or to like anybody playing a video game, he'd be a great backup. I don't think Ola Kamara, coming off of 19 goals last season, wants to be a backup anywhere.
Yeah.
He's not a backup. And that's the issue. And that's, I think, the biggest thing when these conversations start about, team needs depth. You have to look at players that fit what depth is. Are you looking for a possible starter? Not at forward right now. Would Ola Kamara accept being the number 2 to Joseph's number 1? Not after he scored 19 goals last year, I wouldn't expect. He would probably be expecting to cash in and get a large deal, and that might be why he's being shopped. Is maybe he wants a new contract and DC doesn't want to give it to him. I doubt he would want to move from a team where he's the number 1 guy to go be a number 2 somewhere. I mean, are you going to look for other strikers? Yes, but I don't think he fits the bill of a backup striker. And there just is a difference in these conversations. We've talked about it, how you build a roster many times. I think when you're looking for backup and when you're looking for depth, you're looking one of two ways. You're looking either young on the way up, who hasn't proven that they're a regular starter yet. And we see this happen with guys everywhere. I mean, you can go through the list of players who have gotten their feet wet as a backup, gotten a few appearances, earned the starting job, and they become a starter later. Or you're looking for somebody, well, I'll give you 2 more options. You're looking for somebody later in their career who is not a regular starter at this point in their career. Lisandro Lopez in MLS last year was a fine example of that. If he had stuck around, he would have been that backup and I think accepted the backup role. That's why he was brought here, spot starter, play some games, but not start 34 games. Or frankly, you're looking for somebody who just is at the level of being a backup. And there are guys in every league and every sport who they understand that role. I think backup striker, backup goalkeeper are a lot like a backup quarterback in a lot of ways because you don't normally see a ton of rotation at those positions. You see guys play. If you see rotation at those positions, it's because you don't have a regular starter. If you are where you want to be, you have a quarterback that you count on every game. You have a goalkeeper that you count on every game, and you have a number 9 that you count on every game. And somebody who thinks they're a starter and can be counted on generally doesn't accept the role of being the backup. And, this conversation comes up with players moving teams all the time. So I don't think he fits as a backup at all. I would assume Ola Kamara's price tag in terms of a trade would be pretty high right now, coming off of, being tied in goals with the Golden Boot winner, Tati Castellanos. Castellanos bumped him by the assist. That's why he won the Golden Boot. Yeah, I mean, Wildchar, again, like, we can play the hypothetical all day. And this is why this is important. It's like Wildchar says, here's hoping Joseph gets back to 20 plus. Then he only made 400,000 last year. We can't double that and he'd be happy. Just curious is all. I don't think most professional players are purely in it for just paychecks. There's some, of course, there's some who at different stages of their career, they're playing for a paycheck, of course. But it's a hard sell. And this is where I think people will try to hypothetical you to death. Like, is there some scenario where Ola Kamara would rather be in Atlanta than DC and would rather be a backup rather than a starter somewhere else? Maybe, probably not, but maybe. Is it likely? No, it's not. It doesn't fit what we know about how these things generally work. So, I mean, just when you're talking about realistic options here, this is where I think at times this whole idea of getting set up to be angry happens. If you're looking for a backup option, you're probably not going to get a starting level option because most starting level option players want to go into positions where they're going to start and not be a backup. And this is, I think, a very clear role in Atlanta United's going to play Joseph Martinez when he is healthy. He's going to start. Whoever the other forward is here or other forwards have to know that, or their agents aren't doing their jobs, frankly. So, yeah, no, well, Char, I know. I'm not attacking you. You brought it up, and I'm responding to it, and I'm trying to lay it out. So, if other people have wondered, well, why don't they go get, the best player in the world at the position? Why don't you go get the second best player in the world at that position to be that first person's backup? It's just not realistic. I mean, you're not going to get Neymar to back up Messi. You're not going to get Haaland to back up Lewandowski. Like it's just not realistic, and that has to be understood, I think. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. That's just where it is. Past that part, you get into the acquisition cost, you get into the salary, you get into can you fit that in the cap, all those kinds of things that just make it really challenging to do. I think it's incredibly unlikely, but as we all know about anything is possible, but I don't think it's a realistic expectation. We're going to get into FA Cup here in just a second. Second hour, Mike Conti is going to join us at 10 o'clock, and we will dig into a lot of MLS talk, a lot of the moves that have happened around the league. We're getting more preseason announcements. More things are happening. We'll get into all of that with Mike. Jarrett Smith will join us in the second hour as well, and that'll come up with U.S. men's national team stuff as well. But, John, I mean, just the idea Ola Kamara being on the trade block, I think is maybe the bigger surprise here is I didn't expect that out of DC. Now, a number of his goals were penalties. I think that does need to be kind of reiterated a little bit when it comes to Kamara's season last year. But he had a career kind of a year. I didn't expect DC to be looking elsewhere now.
And I didn't either. And you wonder why? When you see Ola Kamara's name pop up with the year that he had last year, and DC, Stephen Goff comes out and divulges that they're looking at offers. Is DC trying to maximize,
Yeah,
this
possible.
asset in Ola Kamara and sit there and it's like, okay, so he's had this fantastic season. Let's see what we can get for him. And once again, the notion of trying to have an asset leave at its peak a year too early instead of a year too late. And so that was one of the first things that popped into my head, but also the point that you made. If there was to be a transaction, regardless of the club, the cost involved, and I know that I'm mixing positions here, but when you have an Alistair Johnston come in with a 7-figure allocation money price tag attached to a deal, you're wondering what it's going to have to be by a comparison with an Ola Kamara who had a career season. So the cost to me would be cost prohibitive unless you've got a boatload of allocation money and you're looking for that top level striker that you think you're going to get in Ola Kamara. So there were a couple of things here that raised some questions for me. The why, and it might be that maximization of an asset. And then 2, the cost involved from a possible suitor to bring an Ola Kamara in under your tent.
Yeah, I mean, there's teams who need a striker to be a starter and to be that guy, and I think they're going to be the ones who are more likely to be calling DC. Says there's been as many as 3 teams that have spoken to DC about Kamara, and it does sound like, according to Stephen Goff at the Washington Post, that DC is entertaining the offers because there is more interest in Ola Kamara based off what he did last year. I do think there's a question about, Hernan Losada's style, which is not quite as rigid as our Ralph Rangnick conversations and our Red Bull and Philadelphia ways of playing, but there are some expectations up top of what your striker does in Kamara in Losada's style that maybe Kamara might not be the best fit for.
Yeah.
And if you can get, younger and cheaper and spread the money around elsewhere, which is the most important thing in a cap league. That's what it comes down to, I think, for a lot of these conversations is who has cap space, who has cap space to commit to a striker. Most teams are going to commit a larger chunk to one individual striker than anywhere else on the field because, I mean, ultimately, we all know it. Goals win games. You can be a defensive team all you want, but you need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net. That's more often than not going to be your highest paid player. Not always, but a lot of times it will be. And it's hard to have 2 guys with large sets of numbers, acquisition costs, salaries, etc. next to them. It's just very difficult. Some teams will play 2 up top, and then that brings a whole nother load of questions into it. I don't know where the market would be right now for an Ola Kamara. I'd have to look around at teams that need a striker, and I think he's a guy who thrives on service from the flanks. So, I think back to his years in Columbus and where he was really strong there. I think he wants crosses. I think he wants to really operate inside the 18, not be in a team that's maybe pressing as high. I don't think that's really something in his game that he loves. So there's teams that would fit that. There's teams that would play 2 up top that would be another opportunity for him, possibly. So we'll see. Jason Nix, I do want to get into this. I was going to save it for a little bit. Jason Nix is laughing about Chris Armas because the English media, I think, is completely misunderstanding the style of play, as the English media is sometimes prone to do with Ralph Rangnick. I saw a tweet from the article in The Athletic, and it was then taken into a tweet by a Manchester United forum or blog or account or what have you, and trying to insinuate that, well, the team's only working on how to recover the ball because Chris Armas doesn't know how to coach a team that has the ball. No, that's entirely inaccurate, and you're trying to throw shade at the American coach, first off, because you wouldn't do that if the coach was English. Second, you probably need to understand who his boss is, and you probably need to understand what Ralph Rangnick's training sessions and what his style of play is all about before you say something like that. Because if you know, and literally, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know this in England where Ralph Rangnick's working right now, because I don't think there's really been a lot of understanding of what he's trying to do. They are based on winning the ball back. Like, everything is based on winning the ball back. That is what they're coaching. That's what they do. This is not a surprise if you knew anything about Ralph Rangnick. And why did he bring Chris Armas in to be an assistant coach? Because Chris Armas has worked in the Red Bull style. He knows exactly what Ralph Rangnick wants, and he's doing exactly what Ralph Rangnick wants. Like, no, it has nothing to do with Chris Armas. This was the predictable reaction from some corners of the English media. I said it from day one. I was not high on the hire to begin with. I didn't think it fit the club, and I didn't think the club actually understood what was happening here. I didn't think the club understood what they were doing in hiring Rangnick and what they were getting. I don't think the media understood it at all, and it's been really disappointing to see the lack of research and the lack of education about what a Ralph Rangnick team does, because he's done this everywhere he's been. Everything about the team is based on winning the ball back. It's not about what you do in possession. It's about winning the ball back, because they don't try to create in possession. They create through winning the ball back in dangerous spots. That's what it is. Like, the idea that, oh, Chris Armas doesn't know what he's doing because they're not coaching possession. No, the people saying that don't know what they're talking about, because Ralph Rangnick doesn't coach possession. He doesn't want possession, to be even more clear. He doesn't want the ball. Like, I don't know where this is difficult to understand, because when you're talking about tactics, and well, let's tactics are individual. Let's get into philosophy. Let's start there. Let's go as big a high as we can here. When you're talking about that, you make a decision. Are we a team that wants the ball, or are we a team that doesn't want the ball? Are we going to do everything that we construct in our game model about having the ball? Or is everything going to be constructed about when we don't have the ball? It starts there. And you go down one of two paths. Now, is there crossover? Of course there's crossover, because teams that have possession, and you work on possession, but okay, when you lose possession, you got to get the ball back. So you got to look over at the other side of this flow chart and say, all right, we need to pull that in here. We need to do that. Okay, cool. Now, it's not as much on the other way, outside of very clear, specific things of, okay, we're going to base everything on when we don't have the ball. We're going to press. We're going to try to turn the team over in these situations. Now we've got the ball. What do? The answer to be able to stay in your philosophy is go to goal as fast as possible. It's there's nothing about building up play. There's nothing about then looking at what possession teams do when they have the ball. It's pretty much go to goal as fast as possible. I keep waiting for a manager, and it might not be possible, but I'm sure that somebody's got to be thinking about it. I keep waiting for a manager to find a way to be a press first team, but not be poor with the ball. Your San Jose's, your Bielsa's, your Guardiola's, even though I don't think people really look at him as a pressing team, your Gabriel Heinz's, your managers that are known for that kind of high energy game are not your Ralph Rangnicks. They are not your Jim Curtins. They are not your Gerhard Strubers in MLS. Those guys don't want the ball. Curtin has shifted this way. Struber, the Red Bull style's been this way. Rangnick was one of the originators of the ultra intensity with the press and all that. They don't want the ball. Your Heinz's, your Bielsa's, your Almeida's, Losada fits into this. They want the ball, but when they don't have it, they want it back as fast as possible. It comes down to what you want at the very top of your decision-making chart. Do we want the ball? Do we want to do everything without the ball? Ralph Rangnick wants to do everything without the ball. So, no, they're not going to work on possession. And anybody trying to create this story like, oh, Chris Armas is not very smart because they're not coaching anything about possession. Well, you didn't know what your coach was going to be. And that's on you. Like, that's on you. And I would be willing to bet that if Chris Armas was not an American coach, that there would not be an attempt to slander his ability to coach based off this, because what Chris Armas is doing as the assistant to Ralph Rangnick is doing exactly what Ralph Rangnick wants. It's just not that hard to understand. But there really hasn't been the conversation, because I hear it in games and I see it in some of the post-match comments from people who are following this team. Like, well, they're not connecting passes. Duh. Well, they're not trying to keep the ball and work into dangerous positions. Again, duh. Like, that's not what they're trying to do. And it's very different than what Manchester United's ever done. But that's the guy that the club hired. And that's just what it comes down to. It's Armas was hired to do a job. He's not even making this decision. He is doing a job for the guy who is making the decisions. And he was hired probably very clearly in saying, this is what we're going to do. And they hired him. And nobody gets it. And I don't know why we're still at this point when we've seen it. Like, when Manchester United does kind of dilly-dally on the ball and they win it back and then they're slow to go forward, they're not doing what their manager wants. Like, that's not poor coaching. That's just not doing what the manager wants, because he wants the ball forward as fast as possible. He wants them to press. This is just it's a looming disaster. And now you're trying to throw shade at the American coach here, because you got to blame somebody, and that really upsets me, because this has nothing to do with Chris Armas and what he knows and what he doesn't know. This is the manager that was hired, and this is the style that he plays, and these are not surprises.
Why anyone would think that Chris Armas is just absolutely going to freelance at practice. He's just, yeah, I'm just going to do whatever I want. It's, why would anyone think that he's not going to do what Ralph Rangnick wants him to do on the sheet or on the whiteboard that they're given?
But they're not even getting to that point, John. Like, it's not about that. Nobody's asking him to freelance. It's that they literally don't understand what the team is going to try to play like. Like, it's not even like Armas should do things elsewhere. They're not even going down that road. This all comes back to the idea that they don't understand what the manager wants in the first place.
Yeah. And to your other point about Armas and the American and the life of the American coach in England, I mean, as a reference point, I always have Bob Bradley at his time at Swansea, and you're seeing the same kind of a thing with Chris Armas this time around as the American, that they feel like, okay, let's work on the American through the press and discuss things negatively about the American again. It's just that Chris Armas gets to be the most recent example.
Yeah, a little different just because of, I think, this situation specifically with the dysfunction at Manchester United. And I think the biggest thing I just keep coming back to is the very large disappointment that I have in people not having done their homework at this stage. And whether that's the club or the media in this case, like, it's not hard to get the basics of what Rangnick wants to accomplish, because he'll tell you he's very vocal and he's very clear in what he has to say about what he wants. He'll answer all your questions and tell you all about it. Pay attention. Like, that's what you have to do at this point. You can go back and look at his previous teams. You can go back and look at his work. You can go back and look at what he stands for in the game. And like, it's very evident. So, like, any questions about possession, it just tells me that you don't know what your manager's trying to accomplish. And you add that into the tabloid stuff, and you add that into it's Manchester United, and there's always going to be a bigger spotlight there. And if Manchester United loses a game, it's a international travesty, and everybody's going to go nuts about it. So there's a lot of things working in this that are maybe unique to it, as opposed to just the generic let's trash the American coach. But right now, that's an angle of it where you're trying to create a narrative about Chris Armas not knowing what he's doing. I've said it before. I think the idea that, and it's been said here, that Chris Armas blew it in the playoff game against Atlanta United. I think that's disrespectful to Tata Martino and Atlanta United in that game, because that's saying that if he hadn't blown it, then they would have won. No, I didn't get that sense going into that game at all. He miscalculated in that game, and he talked about it afterwards. He was very clear. Without was it Kamar Lawrence who was out going into that game? He didn't feel like they could press as high as they had been. He was worried about that, so they didn't press as high. If you go back and look at it, Atlanta United wasn't trying to play with the ball until they realized that New York wasn't pressing them very high. Then they tried to play with the ball. They adapted, and they took advantage of what was there. They took advantage of the space in front of them, and that's how the game played out. Chris Armas is not he's not a dummy. Let's stop that narrative, please. I think it's very disrespectful to a great national team player, a coach who is still young and still learning. And right now, a coach is just doing his job. Like, he's just literally doing his job. And he was doing it at Red Bulls too, because that's the way they're instructed to play. They play a certain way. Now, he deviated from that in the playoff game because he was missing personnel and he miscalculated. Got it wrong. We'll see. We'll see how this goes down. We were going to have an FA Cup segment here, but we're having a little bit of technical difficulties, it seems like. So, John, I know you'd prepared for this. FA Cup is this weekend, and we have a game scheduled for today that nobody knows what Manchester City is going to throw on the field. On the road at Swindon Town, yes, with Guardiola, with his assistant Juan Malillo. Was it 7 members of the staff in total, or was it even more than that, and 7 players?
I think it was 7 staff and more players to get to the more than 20 that have tested positive.
Okay. It's not good.
No.
It's not good. Manchester City is still a minus 588, according to the odds that SofaScore pulls in.
Yep.
They still should be able to take care of business.
Yeah, and the notion is that they're going to play a lot of their younger players, and I will even better the number that you have from SofaScore in the composite. Yeah. You can get it close to minus 700. So it doesn't seem to be a whole lot of worry when it comes to Manchester City and Swindon Town, where one place you can even get them as close to minus 775 on the board going up against Swindon Town as your lone matchup to start the round of 64 in the FA Cup.
All right, our technical difficulties are resolved, so we're going to introduce former intern, now current contributor to the show, Niall. What's up, Niall?
Hello.
Niall and John are going to take you through the FA Cup, and going forward, they're going to take you through the Prem every week. So Mondays are going to be reviews, Fridays are going to be previews. Not an hour-long segment, a 15-minute segment, but they do want your questions, and they're going to let you know how you can throw your questions in. A couple of you already did for this one. You guys don't have a full 15 minutes now because we got Mike Conti joining in 11 minutes. So you got 10 minutes to go, and the clock starts now. John, go.
Rock and roll rapid fire with former intern Niall. I know that you had 2 matches on your board when it came to the FA Cup outside of the Manchester City game that we talked about briefly. What's the first game on your board and why?
The first game on my board is West Ham versus Leeds United. That is on December 10th at 9 a.m. I just find this one a bit interesting, as I've seen from David Moyes that he really wants to win the FA Cup with West Ham, and I think this would be a very interesting beginning match against a team in Leeds that has recently come off a good win against Burnley 3-1. And it's just been interesting facts about how Leeds have been unsuccessful in their last 3 meetings with West Ham in all competitions, losing all of them. And West Ham, however, have not had the best of success against Premier League opponents. However, in the FA Cup, they've only won one of their last 19 matches against Premier League sides. Their last win was in February 2016 when they won 2-1 against Liverpool. And Leeds have been not able to make it past this stage of the FA Cup, as they have been eliminated from the stage in their last 4 campaigns, and that's their longest streak without a win in the FA Cup since a run of 7. So I'm sure Marcelo Bielsa will want to look to advance in this stage for the first time in a while. And West Ham, in turn, have advanced past the FA Cup third round for the past 4 years. They will want to put on a good performance. They have confidence brewing on their side. They are 1 point behind Arsenal in fifth place, which is pretty impressive. The only worrying thing about West Ham is that they are vulnerable defensively with only one clean sheet in 11 games. But I don't think this will be too much of an obstacle against Leeds, as they are at home. So I think as long as they're like pretty much performing well at home, I think they should be fine.
Right now, the numbers, and obviously for those who have listened and watched Leeds in the Premier League this year, a lot of key injuries, Patrick Bamford being a part of that. Right now, West Ham in the composite at odds portal a minus 128. Your 90-minute draws a plus 273. Leeds is a plus 348. That is one of 7 matches at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. What's the second game that you had on your radar?
The second game I had was Manchester United versus Aston Villa on December 10th at 2:55 p.m. January 10th, excuse me. This is an interesting one based on all the noise surrounding Manchester United in terms of the tensions with Rangnick and the players, presumably. They are in a tough situation right now after a 1-0 loss to Wolves at Old Trafford, which was not a good performance by Manchester United at all. They only had like two shots on target, so it was a very unconvincing performance. A win here certainly needed, as the Manchester United, though, the sort of mood towards them right now is a bit of sour grapes. So they need to sort of change that mood. Aston Villa will most likely field a strong 11, I'm sure. So that means that Rangnick will have to be very much considering about who he wants to put out on the field. So he himself might want to have to put out a strong 11 as well. Harry Maguire, I've heard, could be back from injury for this match, which would benefit Manchester United. And Manchester United should really, I think, want to make a run for the FA Cup. Of course, it's not the most important trophy, but winning just a trophy for Manchester United, I think, could give them confidence, and it could honestly turn their season around, as it's been troubling at the moment, and right now it doesn't seem to be getting that much better. And on the other hand, though, Aston Villa will want to take advantage of Manchester United's status. They've lost two of their last games, but I think Steven Gerrard will be keen on trying to get a win here, especially against his old former rival. So yeah, and I think the big question here is just how this will turn out, these results, because the FA Cup, it can be a bit unpredictable at times.
That is true.
So it's like it's going to be very much interesting to see, especially with injuries and potential COVID-19 cases. So.
And we'll keep an eye on this game since it is the Monday afternoon game at 2:55. Manchester United a minus 145 in the composite 90-minute draw to plus 288. Aston Villa at a plus 388. We did mention briefly the Manchester City Swindon Town. 21 people, Pep, 7 first-team players, so I had that flip. 7 first-team players won't be available because of COVID. Now, players to watch. I know that you have some in your spot shadow. Who are some of the folks this weekend to possibly keep an eye on that we could be seeing here in the round of 64?
Okay, so I have 4 or 5 players to watch. One of them is Romeo Lava. Probably a bit of an unheard, but he is an 18-year-old Belgian midfielder from Manchester City with great potential, and he is seen as a strong ball-winning midfielder, and he apparently played well for Manchester City against Wycombe in the earlier stages of the FA Cup and could possibly start because of the whole amount of COVID cases that Manchester City have. So they're most likely going to be fielding a younger squad here. Another one is another Manchester City player, Luka Mbete. He is an 18-year-old English center back as well. He could start for City in place of Ruben Diaz, as he will be needed against Chelsea next weekend. That's a big match for them. He played well against Wycombe in the Carabao Cup as well, and he is composed and confident with the ball. He's tactically smart, and he's impressed at both club and national team youth levels. Probably the biggest name on my players to watch is Charles Patino, and he is an 18-year-old midfielder who could be a talent in the making at Arsenal. He could start for them against Nottingham Forest on Sunday. He recently made his senior debut for Arsenal in their Carabao Cup match against Sunderland, and he actually scored. He's impressed at both club and youth level, and he's been highly regarded as a player, and to the point that he's been compared to the likes of Phil Foden, whether fair or unfair. But yeah. And then another player, and my final player to watch, is Harvey Bale, and he is an 18-year-old English midfielder for Chelsea. Very versatile, can also play up top or in wide attacking positions. He scored 20 goals in his U16 season and 2019 and 20 with 20 goals at the club level. And he made his professional debut for Chelsea on December 22nd against Brentford in the club level. And he made his professional debut for Chelsea on December 22nd against Brentford at the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. And he just recently came on as a sub in Chelsea's 2-0 win against Tottenham in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semifinals. So those are my players to watch.
All right, so news, we've kind of gotten into it a little bit this morning, the breaking news out of Villa with Coutinho coming in to Steven Gerrard's side. We've talked about what's been going on with Ralph Rangnick at Manchester United. Newcastle is the news that I wanted to focus on with you. Kieran Trippier looks like he's worked his way in. And Newcastle, they want to spend a lot of money, it seems, on a lot of different folks just to bring in players here in January. What do you know about Newcastle?
Yeah, they are in the mix for a lot of players. They've been recently linked to Aaron Ramsey, and they've also recently made, according to Athletic, they've made an improved offer for Botman, but we'll see what happens with that. That's probably the most interesting one out of the two, because Botman does want to move to the Premier League, but is it with Newcastle United? How much of the offer will Lille take that offer or not, especially in the time of their season when they're in 8th? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see that.
And Botman, I think the offer from Newcastle has been raised to $40 million. Botman really isn't in a hurry to leave.
No.
He still has some time left on his deal. Not in a hurry to leave yet, but if Newcastle has boosted it to 40, I think that one of the triggers that we've seen overseas is the add-on possibilities for Lille as well to possibly make some money off of a possible future transaction that could swing things in Botman and Lille's favor for him working his way to Newcastle. One of the things that we do with this segment each and every time is you post questions to Discord to get responses. What were some of your highlight questions this week, and what have some of the responses been?
Some of my highlight questions this week have been about Ralph Rangnick and if he stays as the interim. I know one person responded saying they hope not and no. And the other one was about Newcastle's approach, but that one is, I don't know, I feel like that question's a bit hard to answer right now with them just starting their approach. I think right now they're just going to take a short-term approach, but what happens depending at the end of the season and just in the future, they're going to take more of a long-term. But right now it's hard for them to kind of focus on that long-term approach with the threat of relegation, making them panic a bit. So.
And you'll be posting questions to the Discord before each and every one of these segments. No longer intern Niall, expert of the Prem Niall. You've survived the first time. Congratulations. Great to have you as a part of our discussion when it comes to everything England.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Niall. We'll see you on Monday. All right, John, you've got to tell everybody quickly about Toca football and Eliminize.
I will do just that. Friends, do you have a young soccer player in your family? Have you ever considered private instruction with a professional instructor to take your player's game to the next level? Toca Football has 4 indoor soccer training centers in the Atlanta area. Their trainers utilize innovative technology and a fun environment to help improve your favorite player's skill and decision-making. Give Toca Football a try, why don't you? SDH is partnering with Toca to offer our listeners an opportunity to check out their revolutionary and fun Toca soccer training method for no cost whatsoever, $0. You can book your free session now with the promo code DH. That's your promo code. Go to tocafootball.com/program/Toca-training. tocafootball.com/program/TOCA-training. There's your promo code at the bottom of the screen for those of you watching on Twitch. It is DH. Go to soccerdownhere.net as well. Click on the Toca Football banner and get your favorite player's game headed to the next level right then and there. SDH is also brought to you by Eliminize Service. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize Service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind of the environment offering a clean way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue, different than Febreze or your favorite masking agent. They use a proven scientific formula to destroy odor down to the molecule. Pricing, 2 convenient ways, either parts per million or by cubic foot, and it give you results in 24 hours or less. If you have any other questions, frequently asked or otherwise, about Eliminize service, you can get a great offer right now by going to the website, eliminize.com/Atlanta. The /Atlanta part is key, so they know where you're reaching out from. Eliminize, ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
You added a little bit more there. I thought you were rapping. That's why I faded the music. My bad.
That's all right. It's all cool.
You kept going. All right. Speaking of keeping going, we got Mike Conti joining the show right now. What's up, Mike?
Hey, guys. Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
Good. What about you?
I'm good. I'm loving all the, the special effects and, a graphic.
Yeah.
And like all this crazy stuff you've got going on with this new platform. I mean, it evolves and evolves. I would imagine within the next week or two, we're going to have like star wipes and, all kinds of crazy special effects.
Like the Jeremy Todd Show segment from SCTV.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Now don't get the expectation levels too high, Mike, because this is really made for dummies, and I'm a dummy on a production standpoint. So there's only so many things I can do, but I can add the little graphics, I can add the lower thirds, I can add videos and things like that. So I'm getting there. I'm learning new things.
Compared to where you guys were this time, were you within the last 2 years still doing the show on the phone?
A little bit further back than that, when we were doing Blog Talk Radio.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just think about it. How far you have come really in the last 30 months to 36 months. I mean, it's amazing.
It's kind of crazy. Some of it's down to the pandemic, where we were like, oh, well, we might as well do video. We got nothing else to do, and we'll figure it out as we go.
The other thing I like about this new setup is I actually can see the Twitch pitch.
Yes.
Now, usually when I'm on with you guys, I'm just on like my cell phone and I have it held up to my ear, but I realized Wednesday that I'm just FaceTiming you guys all the time. So now, I'm not on the phone. I can actually see you guys and see the Twitch. Like, Ahmed, hey, how are you? I see you on the Twitch pitch. This is great. I love it. I love 2022. Niall, what's up? Yes, I see you too. Hello, everyone on the Twitch pitch. For the first time, I can see you now.
It's New Zoo Review. I see you, and I see you. And
That's right. That's right. I love it. This is great.
We're adding new things every time we can, so we're doing the best we can here. MLS, you had a bunch of teams add guys yesterday. You had 6 moves. I think this is going to continue to ramp up. I want to hit this one really quick, and I shared it yesterday on Twitter. If you haven't seen the article, Chris Hegart signed as a homegrown for Charlotte. Charlotte acquired his homegrown rights from Seattle. He played at Georgetown University. Really talented technical player, but his backstory is incredible. And ESPN E60 did a piece on him. He was actually part of a Make-A-Wish group that got to meet Lionel Messi a long time ago.
Wow.
And he's recovered. He had a form of cancer that was very hard to identify. He was very young. I think he was 8 when it happened, because he got drilled with a shot in a game in his stomach, and he had pain, and they couldn't figure it out, and they figured out that he had cancer and he had tumors, and he went through all of the chemo, and they got it handled. And now he's played in college, and he's going to play professionally. He's played for the Tacoma Defiance when he was in Seattle's academy. Like, he's the kind of story that, I know we don't like Charlotte around here, but he's a guy that everybody in the league's going to be pulling for. It's really cool.
Yeah. Amazing story. So help me out now, Jason. Because he was signed in this way, he does not have to be a contestant on the reality show, right?
Right. Thankfully, yes. I have not heard anything new about the reality show.
Let's hope that means that cooler heads have prevailed and they're not going to do it, or they're going to do it in a different way, such as a reality show to select the Charlotte mascot.
Ooh,
because or the capos for their supporters group or something like that. Because again, I'm not really a huge fan of giving a Major League Soccer roster spot to the winner of a skills challenge competition on a Survivor style.
90 more times than the other guy.
Exactly. Please don't do that. But anyhow, no, this is a really compelling story, and I will be pulling for him. Look, I mean, Charlotte's been interesting, I think, to the three of us because it really hasn't been fully clear what their plan is yet as far as how they want to construct their team. These next couple weeks are going to tell us a lot about Charlotte and what they're going to look like come February 26th when this all gets started. Because right now, I have no idea what Charlotte's going to look like. No idea at all what they're going to look like, what they're going to be tactically, how they're going to form, all of that. I just have no idea. And that, I think, is maybe, guys, the most compelling overarching storyline in the league today is what's Charlotte going to do over the next 6 weeks to finish this thing off? Because right now, that roster is not complete.
No,
It's
nowhere
all
near
over.
it. It is a little all over the place. They've got the number 1 pick in the Super Draft coming up. They'll probably pick one of the Generation Adidas signings that were announced yesterday because it's just such a rewarding thing to do for your cap. It gives you a little more time for that player to develop. These are generally the best players coming out of college because they're underclassmen coming out and signing a pro deal a little early. There's a couple guys in their neck of the woods as well. You've got a forward from Duke who was announced. Duke actually jumped the gun a little bit and announced it. An Icelandic forward, Thorleifur Orlofsson. This is going to be a fun one for us, Mike, when we get to that point.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you have a couple juice boxes, bet on it right now that he's going to score a clutch goal against Atlanta United because for whatever reason, Nordic players always seem to step up in the clutch against Atlanta United, don't they?
That's weird. Yeah, but true. You got another former ACC guy, but not ACC anymore, University of Maryland, not too far for Charlotte to go scout, Ben Bender, who was a unanimous Big Ten midfielder of the year last year. A lot of people have him very high up the charts. But, okay, you're going to get that player if we're talking about Charlotte. You've got Jalen Lindsey, hometown kid, who is going to be a starter at right back now. You've got Harrison Awful for depth. You've added the young Brazilian forward, Vinicius Melo. A lot of expectation, but he's 18. You've got Anton Walks, I think, solid in the back to build around. It feels like they're still missing a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the more and more this goes, the more I think Anton's going to wear the armband for them. I mean,
that's a really good shout.
That just really feels like that's going to be the play to me, that he is going to be probably, I mean, Harrison Awful's got a lot of experience in this league too, but I think Walks plays more than Awful.
Yeah, 100%.
So as far as MLS veteran leadership is concerned, Walks is that guy right now for them. But it is interesting because I remember when the Bobcats came into the NBA, their roster building strategy was basically, all right, let's find everyone we possibly can from Wake Forest and Duke and North Carolina and NC State. And, let's just do that. Let's have a North Carolina collegiate all-star team, and we'll find a veteran here or there to kind of supplement. And, we'll draft a Neko Okafor and we'll bring in Primo Brezic and all that. Charlotte's in an interesting spot with the soccer project because there are some really good collegiate programs in a very short radius of Charlotte that they could try to tap into. And I'll just be curious to see, with the super draft, are they going to try to pluck some guys out of Wake Forest? Are they going to try to pluck some guys out of Clemson? Are they going to try to pluck some guys out of Furman or some of these really good collegiate programs that are close to Charlotte? Or are they not? Because it does work a lot differently in basketball where there's, a tremendous local following of college basketball in the Charlotte area. And there might not be so much of a interested following in collegiate soccer there. But I still don't really get it. I don't get what the plan is. Charlotte looks to me right now as constructed a team that's going to really, really struggle to pull draws in this league right now, let alone win matches. But you have to think that they have not one or two, but several major signings in the pipeline. They just have to.
Well, because you could bring in a Sean May or a Raymond Felton if you're the Charlotte Bobcats.
Exactly.
And you're going to be in a 22,000 seat arena, and you're going to have that natural draw.
Right.
Where what we've seen from David Tepper is he wants 72,000, and he wants to be big and bold and brash, and he wants sellouts and rah, Atlanta, all of that kind of stuff. And to do that, I mean, I think that especially in Major League Soccer, you're widening your base. You've brought in a coach who knows how to bring in players from South America. And I think that you're catering to a region, and you're trying to draw folks into a region, and it's a different sport entirely than focusing on Tar Heels and Deacons and even though there is that impact when it comes to the ACC in soccer.
No, you're right. You're 100% right. But to your point of Tepper trying to be as splashy as possible, trying to compete punch for punch with Atlanta, if I were paying for a C license right now to have a Charlotte season ticket, I don't think I would necessarily be thrilled with the roster that they've constructed.
Yeah.
If you're going to charge a luxury price, you have to have a luxury product.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they have that yet. It's not over, but man, they got to get on the horse. I mean, because the thing is, you aren't really even hearing rumors, substantial rumors that, okay, well, they're going to bring in this guy and that'll fix this issue. And they're going to bring in this guy and that'll give them some cover here. Like, you don't even really hear a lot of that right now. So I'll just be really curious to see what they do over the next couple weeks. Maybe, knock on wood, it's a good thing that Atlanta United is going to play these guys twice relatively early in the season, as they're still trying to kind of develop chemistry and fine-tune the roster. Because right now, I mean, they're going to open training camp in, 9 days, and their team is not complete as far as I'm concerned.
It's nowhere near. I mean, they have a goalkeeper they're expecting in Christian Kalina to come in from the Bulgarian league and be your number one. You've got Christian Fuchs at 36, 37 years old at left back, Adam Armour as the backup there who will have to play some. Jalen Lindsey and Harrison Awful splitting it on the right side. Lindsey should get the bulk of the time. Fullback, you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
Center back, you've got Walks, and then you're going to play one of Guzman Corujo or Jan Shobashinsky, who haven't played in this league before. We have no idea how they're going to fit. Sergio Ruiz, one of their central midfielders, is still dealing with injuries. It's not likely that he's going to be ready to go. You've signed Hegart, who's coming out of the college game. You got Riley McGee, who has scored a golazo in his career, and that's really all he's known for. Alan Franco and Jordi Alcivar, two good young Ecuadorian central midfielders who are going to work hard. Okay, I think they can be a little bit of a surprise. Brant Bronico, we've seen in the league before, very solid central midfielder.
Mm-hmm.
No wingers outside of Mackenzie Gaines being converted into one, and we barely saw him with Aston last year. Jordi Reyna delivers sometimes in this league, and Vinicius Melo is a teenager. Like, that's the whole roster. That's it.
Yeah, that's a group that I think would struggle to win 3 games.
I don't think they win 3. If that's the group.
That's a group that I think would struggle to be competitive in USL Championship, to be totally honest with you.
100%.
That's why they need to do more. And I'm sure they're going to do more, but what concerns me is you don't really have a lot of rumors right now about substantial things that they are going to do.
No, the only other rumor that I've seen, and I have not seen a legitimate source on it, is Christian McCoon heading to Charlotte from Miami. Which,
okay,
I'm fine with that for Charlotte's sake. Miami, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because if LGP's gone and Figal is gone, both to Argentina, then McCoon would be one of your starters at center back. And if you're getting rid of all of your center backs, then what are you doing?
Well, I mean, Toronto tried that strategy in 2018. Not necessarily on purpose, and it didn't necessarily work out. So, and I saw Kelvin Leardam left Miami as well yesterday. So,
the other moves, he was out of contract. The other moves yesterday, Leerdam to LA Galaxy as a free agent. Jan Gregush to San Jose. His option was declined by Minnesota. Yal Yaboa, Ghanaian winger, coming in to Columbus from Wisła Krakow in Poland. A midfielder, attacking midfielder known as Max from Flamengo in Brazil. He is headed to Colorado as a U22 signing. And John Nelson, not this one, went to Cincinnati from Dallas, and when his option was declined by Dallas.
The well-traveled John Nelson, right?
Like second team in 3 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it's his third team since I've started doing this. And this is going to be my 5th year coming up. So, John, have you talked to them about misspelling your name?
I know. Well, and the funny thing is that the John Nelson, who is the actual player, liked our conversation about
That's awesome.
No, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
He was plugged into the Twitters and
I love it.
And actually liked our conversation about it.
Well, you know what? He seems like a really cool dude. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll get a chance to meet him one day if they ever let us near opposing players. He seems like a really cool dude. But yeah, I mean, Jason, I think the point you made when we started the segment is well taken. You had 6 moves yesterday. You're probably going to be looking at over the next week or so moves made at that rate or even higher around the league. And sometimes the super draft can be a catalyst for some of those moves as well.
Yeah, it can.
Especially in terms of trades, and not necessarily player for player trades, but maybe player for allocation money or allocation money for a slot or something like that. So I think it's going to get pretty hot and heavy, and it might really continue today. It might be a little more quiet over the weekend, but especially next Monday and Tuesday in the build up to the draft.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very, very busy and very, very interesting, very, very fascinating.
Let's run through this really quick as we look through, as you've got the CONCACAF teams who are starting training camp. Seems like most of them are on like Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Is when they're going to come into camp, and then about 5-6 days later, everybody else. So Atlanta United, from a starting level perspective, we're not getting into depth here. We're just going to skim through and look at teams that need starters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very simple that they have a question as a starter. Atlanta doesn't have that. You can go round and round about rotation and which of the midfielders start and all that, but you've got a starting team there. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
Austin, yeah, they're pretty decent. I mean, they probably need to get better, but they're pretty good with what they have in terms of having guys to fill out a lineup sheet. I don't know if they've really improved going into year 2 at all. They really haven't. We'll find out if that changes. Chicago has let a lot of guys go. They have a new coach in Ezra Hendrickson. They have a starting lineup and not much else. I mean, that's the question for them. Is you're looking at Miguel Navarro at left back. You're looking at Boris Sekulic, who I really like at right back. Pineda and Tehran at center back. You've added Sichos from the Bundesliga. Okay, he's probably going to take one of those spots. Gaston Jimenez is good, but your midfield is very thin. They probably need a central midfielder to start. And they don't have a forward that you can count on right now. They've got an 18-year-old from Colombia and Duran who's coming in, and Chinoso Ofor, who was okay the times we saw him, Mike. Like, okay. Mm-hmm. Didn't really wow you. Mm-hmm. Wingers, they've got guys, but they don't have stars. Cincinnati is one that is interesting to me. And when we talk about teams that could improve, they're trying. I mean, outside of adding John here, they've got Ray Gaddis out of retirement to come in and be a depth piece. They've got Alvis Powell, who has come in at right back as well. So you've got Gaddis, Powell, Zico, Bailey as possible right backs. Some Cincinnati fans feel like they still don't have a right back. I don't think you're going to go get another one. It's going to be one of those 3 guys. You've got Vallecilla and Cameron and Tyler Blackett, who I thought was pretty good at the end of the season when we saw them. Yuya Kubo has turned into a really good holding midfielder. You've got Luciano Acosta, who's still excellent. You've got Brenner. You've added Dominic Badji, which I think was a really good get. And they've got a goalkeeper that they can probably count on now in Alec Can, who I would expect is going to be at least have every opportunity to be their number 1.
He'll be if it's him and Vermeer, it'll be Can.
It should be.
It should be.
Yeah.
And now I could see Vermeer getting some games.
Yeah.
I don't know if Alex starts all 34, but yeah, I mean they've upgraded there. Cincinnati has subtly upgraded in some places. I mean they haven't gone out. They haven't gone out and paid $10 million for someone and done that crap move, but they have subtly and I think smartly brought in some experienced league guys who still have some gas in the tank. And they will be better. I thought Cincinnati was a talented side that underperformed last year. I really do.
I agree.
I don't know if they were good enough to be a playoff team, but they certainly were much better than a last place team.
Agree.
So I think Cincinnati's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll see with Pat Noonan, a guy who's been talked about, very highly as an assistant coach who, it does feel a little bit like with Gaddis coming, with Powell coming, that you're kind of recreating a little bit of the bench from Philadelphia with Noonan and with Chris Albright. But at least it feels like they're heading in the right direction, which we haven't really been able to say about Cincinnati very much since they came into the league. Colorado, pretty much everybody back, and they've added Abubakar Keita. They'll be good out west. Columbus is the one I keep coming back to. As much as Charlotte, and you look at that group, and you're like, what is the starting lineup with this group? Columbus is this way too. Even with adding Yaboa, like you're adding him to a winger group that has Pedro Santos, Alexandre Matan, Derek Etienne, Luis Diaz, and Yaboa now. You got 5 wingers for 2 spots. Okay, great. You have 1 fullback for 2 spots. That's a problem.
Yeah.
You have 2 center backs for 2 spots. That's a problem. You have 3 defenders on the roster for Columbus. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, Columbus has been very active with intra-league trading. And, here again is where when you go into Tuesday and Super Draft, you might have a chance to pull off another intra-league trade and maybe address, say, that fullback need or that center back need. Columbus they also have a pretty high pick, don't they? Aren't they in the top 10?
They're 12.
They're 12. Wow, really?
Yeah.
Columbus missed the playoffs and they're picking 12?
Whole bunch of teams now.
Whoa, yeah, no, that's true. Well, even at 12, though, you can get a really nice player.
You can. So far in my early digging into the super draft, it's very center back heavy. There's a lot of center backs of different types that are in this draft. They can get a center back that can be a backup and play some games for Josh Williams, who I don't think is a 34 game a year guy anymore.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. But they are compelling because I'm sure they probably have to feel some pressure there.
They should.
They ended the season strongly. I still think winning the Campeones Cup will be a good springboard for them into 2022. But you go from winning it all to not making the playoffs. You're playing in a new stadium. I'm sure they're feeling some pressure. And what they have done so far this offseason, I don't know if it's necessarily matched the level of pressure that they're feeling.
No, it's really odd. I don't get it. DC is another one that I think we have to have some questions about at this stage, with the Washington Post reporting that Ola Kamara, they're at least listening.
Yeah.
Offers for him. When you look at DC and what they did last year, they haven't really added anyone. They have really promoted Donovan Pines. I think it'll be Pines and Birnbaum and Brendan Hines-Ike as your center backs. They played 3 center backs a lot of the time. That's the only 3 center backs they have. That's it. On the flanks, you don't really have anybody on the left unless you're going to turn it over to the teenager, Jacob Green. On the right, you've got Gressel and Nahar as wing backs. Nahar can play as a center back on the right side if you want to go down that route. You've got Canals, you've got Moses Nyman, you've got Kevin Paredes, who has been linked with some possible moves to Europe. I don't know if it happens yet for him. Paul Arriola's not going anywhere. That was an early rumor in the offseason that didn't come to any fruition. But you haven't really added any exciting attacking players. And if you're listening to offers for Ola Kamara, man, they better be good ones if you're going to let him go.
Yep.
Yeah, and I wonder what the price tag would be to get them out of bed on Ola Kamara. I mean, it's got to be north of $5 million, right?
I I think it's going to be a trade internally. So I mean, then you're
an intra-league trade for Ola Kamara?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And you're probably looking at about $1 million in allocation money as a starting point.
And a player, probably.
Possibly, maybe, yeah.
I mean, he's $1 million allocation money player at least.
Yeah,
at least.
Absolutely.
Is he taking a designated player spot in DC?
I don't know if he is. If he is, he would probably be at the level that he could be bought down pretty easily.
Yeah.
I don't, because he's not, because he's only making $420.
Okay.
I think was what he made last year.
Well, I'll
So
tell
he's
you,
not.
I mean, he'd be a hell of a backup striker for Joseph.
See, we already went into that route in the first hour of the show.
I'll tell you, one team I'd
there's
keep an
no
eye
way.
on. One team I'd keep an eye on in that sweepstakes would be New York City.
Yeah.
If Tati Castellanos is moved along,
Yeah.
I don't know if DC would necessarily want to trade him within the conference, but New York City, I don't think it would be a challenge for them to come up with that allocation money and maybe include, I don't know, like a Justin Hawk or a younger player.
Yep.
To kind of sweeten the deal. I'll
tell you who should go get him. And I'll tell you, if somebody's really making a move here for Ola Kamara, if Orlando's name comes up, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, no, 100%.
He'd be a perfect fit for
100. He really would, absolutely. Especially with DK moved along now.
You're going to have a bunch of crosses played in. All you're going to ask him to do is to just get in the 18 and find space.
That's all he has to do. He doesn't have to. Yeah, that's
the one.
Yes, that's one of the ones.
I don't want it to happen because it's too good.
Yeah,
I don't want Orlando to realize.
Then
I'll tell you this though. I mean, Kamara. He had a fantastic year. I'm not downplaying what he did at all, but he did score a lot from the spot. And we saw some games where he did not have very good finishing performances.
Yeah.
So I think from a consistency standpoint, there are still some questions about Ola Kamara.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I don't think he is the top forward in the league, but I think he's a forward who can get you double-digit goals.
Yes, in the right place, absolutely. And Orlando or New York City would be two of those places. Montreal would be another one too.
What about somebody out west?
Well,
since I'm trying to make sure that people forget about Jason's reference to Orlando, that's
why we don't want that
Western Conference.
Well, it's not going to be Vancouver because you got Brian White. Maybe that's not bad, but there's actually some rumors that they might bring Mauro Manotas back.
Okay.
Oh, I liked him.
I did too.
Yeah, I liked him. That Mauro Manotas, Albert Ellis, Romel Kyoto team that just curb stomped Atlanta United in 2018. I don't know. I'm just geographically trying to go through the West here mentally. I don't know.
He'd fit Colorado's brand of bringing guys in from inside the league.
Yeah, that's true. He would make Colorado better. I mean,
he's better than Diego Rubio up top,
no doubt. Yeah, but then, Colorado being maybe a little tighter on the purse strings, I just don't know if Colorado would love giving away $1 million in allocation money to make that happen.
They've got Los Angeles.
Well, hold on back. No, they're going to go bigger than that. LA is not going to put their number 9 as Ola Kamara in this league. They're going to go sign a big name, either one of them. There's just no way they do it because you got to think of the brands here.
True.
That's why Colorado, I think, is the one out west because you could maybe not give up $1 million, but give up a player because they've got some depth in certain spots. And if I'm DC and I'm looking to increase my depth at maybe outside back, Sebastian Anderson, who is a teenager who we saw make his debut, Mike, for Colorado when they had a bunch of injuries. I think it was the last game that Anthony Hudson coached when he threw everybody under the bus afterwards.
Yep.
But Sebastian Anderson had to make his debut at like 16 in that game. And he hasn't really had a chance to play because of Keegan Rosenberry. If depending on the shape that Hernan Losada wants to play, he's one of those guys that is kind of blocked at the team he's at. I think he's a good player. You might be able to move him on elsewhere.
You're giving me flashbacks to 2019 because Colorado actually played pretty well that day.
Yeah, they parked the bus very effectively.
But they almost got a result out of it.
They They did.
And it just cracked me up. They did what Anthony Hudson told them to do. Then Hudson went out and ripped him, and then he got fired. And then his name started to come up with some Premier League openings, which also did not make sense to me.
I think he put his name up there. With
very probably.
A little bit. Good agent, good representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, since we're talking about the West, we do have to bring in somebody whose favorite team is out in the West, Jarrett Smith.
Yes.
What's up,
Yes,
Jarrett?
you do. Let's talk about San Jose.
San Jose is not adding Ola Kamara. Stop it.
No, we're talking about Jan Gregos getting out of that there, which is interesting because I'm very curious how he's going to fit into that. Now, how he moves in that. Man, how do we want to describe that offense?
Chaos.
Yeah, how he moves in chaos.
You know, I feel bad that we have two black boxes. I'll turn my camera on. Just to make it look a little bit better visually, I guess.
Yeah, people have asked for like still shots, and so I can play jokes on you. I can't do that. Like it's a black box or it's a
Trust me, it feels like my still shot has always frozen in the absolute wrong place with like either my mouth open or my eyes really wide or, you know, I don't know, ketchup on the side of my mouth or something like that. Like,
absolutely, it's like your mouth's half open.
Exactly. John, you know what it's like. Like it just kind of always happens. So there you go, Twitch pitch. And you know, that's 3 live boxes now.
Jarrett won't turn his camera on because he just doesn't believe in it.
Oh, look at this. See, I warned Jason, like Jason and I talked about this after stoppage time on Wednesday, and Jason was like, you know, you can always turn your camera on when you're on SDH. I go, I know I could, but that would require me to like groom myself. And if I'm working from home, like not wear pajamas or something like that.
I'm with you, brother.
You know, sometimes it's easier to be cameraless. So, I mean, look at this. The 4 of us exist.
Madness.
Jared, how are you feeling, by the way?
Feeling good.
Good.
Feeling much better.
Good.
The hardest part of recovery was having a 4-year-old that felt great.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She recovered in like 3 days and was like, hey, let's go play. Let's go on a walk. Let's do this. Like, let's not.
Yeah, the 4-year-olds don't necessarily understand the negotiations of mommy and daddy need rest, as well as say maybe a teenager. So I'm glad you're doing better.
Yeah, everybody's good.
Good.
Everyone's good.
So San Jose, Jarrett.
So San Jose. So yeah, I want to see how Jan Gregos adapts to that system in San Jose. I have questions about how it's going to look, how he is going to be able to perform. What do you get? Trying to get 30 games out of him. You know, how he kind of fits in. We'll see.
How many matches does San Jose go before pulling the emergency brake and making a coaching change if it doesn't start well?
It could be quick because it's the last year of his deal, according to I think previous reports. So, yeah, if it's really bad early, they could. And look, over the years, they've been really streaky. They'll go on these runs where they look hopeless. I mean, was it midway through last season in Orlando where they got ran off the pitch and it looked like Almeida wanted to go home at that point?
Yeah.
Right.
And then a couple weeks later, they rip off a run of like 5 or 6 unbeaten. So, I don't know.
There's just no telling. Because that's a really good question, I think, that if it gets sideways early, you pull the ripcord. I don't know what San Jose does. That next step, that's an even better question. But I don't think you're wrong in that if it gets a little sideways early here, if you don't pull that chute and say, you know what, this isn't working, go ahead and go search out if there's a new gig you want, or if you want to take a break, you go do what you want. But let's leave as friends and not bitter enemies.
Has Wando done his licensing yet?
I don't know. I don't think he'd be ready to take over, and I don't know if that's the route he's going to go.
Really?
He might end up doing more like broadcast work. He's done a little bit of it, maybe just to try it and see how he feels. I don't know if he knows
going to
what
become
he
the
wants to
capo
do
is
yet.
what's going to happen.
Yeah, he'll be in the stands. He'll be leading the chants. He'll be the new Crazy George in San Jose for an old school reference. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you what, if I'm putting juice boxes on a likely scenario, I think San Jose is probably not in a great position in the summer. just because the West is tough, and I don't think it's all going to click for them immediately now. Like, I mean, they kind of are what they are. And when that happens and you're in that summer window with Mexico, I think somebody in Mexico is going to fire a coach. They're going to throw money at Almeida. San Jose will take a little something to let him go 6 months early, and that's where it ends. That's my juice box prediction.
That'd be a bummer for the league because I like Matias Almeida, and they're a fun team to watch. It's unfortunate they don't get the results. And part of it's probably because of how wide open they play, but they're always a fun team to watch. It's like
us, maddening for them, right?
Oh, if I were a San Jose fan, I'd have the worst acid reflux in the world because they would probably frustrate the heck out of you. But it's like being a fan of Hawaii's football team, especially when they were in the old WAC.
Yeah,
they would play against like. Yeah. Well, even before that, like when they were playing BYU with Ty Detmer and Colorado State when Sonny Lubick was their coach, and like you just throw the ball 60 times a night, and it was usually 1 a.m. You've had just a joyful day watching college football, and then you watch that stuff.
Timmy Chang throws 70 passes in a game.
Exactly. Yeah, San Jose's just always kind of been that fun, weird team out west. But I think a lot of it, again, just owes to Almeida. It would be a loss for the league, I think, if the league lost him. And I understand that San Jose has not performed to expectations. So I'm not saying it'd be the wrong thing to do. It'd just be a loss for the league.
It's this weird thing, and San Jose has, I think, a lot they have to figure out with new general manager this year. They're not going to spend a lot of money. And that's just a known fact right now with what their owner has. That's whoever takes that job, that's what they're going to have to deal with. So the expectations for Almeida maybe haven't even been fair because you look at the roster of what he has, they just are what they are. But they have to continue along this road. Like you can't go and then hire a, defend deep and counterattack guy now. You just can't. You've created an identity where you can tweak it. You could be more without the ball than San Jose wants to be with the ball. You could, change the way you press a little bit, things like that. But if you dramatically change your identity, then it's going to be a 2-year process.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
If you get somebody who can build on where you are and what Almeida's done, then all right, maybe he can progress it with fresh ideas.
The Chris Armas to San Jose crowd is in a shambles.
Oh, geez. People are taking shots at Chris Armas right now very unfairly because they don't understand what Ralph Rangnick is doing because people didn't do their homework. And they're like, why aren't they worried about possession?
People including Manchester United's front office.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't think they knew what they were getting into. And why aren't we keeping the ball? Have you ever heard Ralph Rangnick speak about his philosophy about the game? Then you'd understand.
Yeah.
We'll see. Mike, what you got coming up this weekend?
West Coast Hawks. So they play the Lakers very late tonight, and then they play the Clippers during the Falcons-Saints game on Sunday. So, if you want to listen to the Hawks while watching the Falcons, go right ahead. And it's funny. I saw someone ask what I was smoking this weekend, and I don't smoke. I never have. But as far as what I'm smoking on the grill is concerned, which I think might be what you meant.
Yeah.
I got this really nice pork loin on New Year's Eve thinking, okay, we're going to do pork and sauerkraut on New Year's Day. And then I got drafted to go up to Buffalo. Yeah. So the pork loin's still in the fridge. So I think instead of sous videing it, I'm going to wrap it in bacon and do it on the egg on Saturday. So hopefully it'll turn out okay.
Did Squid Billy join the Bills Mafia for a table smashing?
Well, I was trying because squid is kind of like the perfect size to be thrown through a table.
Yeah.
He's solidly built too. He'll survive.
That's and Jarrett, that was exactly my point. So we're walking into the stadium. I go, I will pay you $20 if you go up to that tailgate right there and ask them to throw you through the table. And he said, "Shoot, I'll do it for free." But the tailgaters, I don't think they wanted to ruin their table. Yeah, I'll tell you, those fans up there are. They're a little bit crazy, but they're really awesome. That was a really, really fun atmosphere. It's like Jason and I talk about a lot. You don't necessarily like Orlando, but you really like going to their stadium because the atmosphere like has a real vibe to it. And that was kind of the way it was in Buffalo.
Hey, I learn new things when I'm called different words that I've never heard before in Orlando. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I learn new insults.
Yeah,
Buffalo
well,
makes all the sense in the world, though. I mean, look at their history with the playoffs. Look at living in Buffalo in and of itself.
that right there. I mean, it reminded me of all the reasons why I moved out of that part of the country as soon as I could when I graduated college. And yeah, Burned, the Italian restaurant recommendation, I appreciate that. I actually got a few on my way up there, but everyone was closed on New Year's Day, unfortunately. So it was Anchor Bar. But I was told go to Mother's. They were closed. I was told to go to oh boy, there's an Italian place that shared the name of a prominent Rat Pack singer, but I can't remember which one.
Joey Bishop's?
No, not Joey Bishop. No. yeah. Peter Lawford's Italian. No, I can't remember now, but they were all closed. It was such a bummer. They were all closed. The only thing that was open was Anchor Bar. So ended up doing that. It was really good. I mean, the wings were amazing. But next time, the thing about Buffalo, and again, to go to Jarrett's point, I grew up in that part of the country. In the summer, it's amazing up there. It's awesome.
Sure.
But on January 2nd, when it's sleeting and the sun sets at like 4:15 in the afternoon, yeah.
That is not an
Can't do it.
optimistic look.
Can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mike. We'll talk to you next week. We'll be, a few days away from Atlanta United training camp.
Yeah, and I guess next time I'm with you on Wednesday, we'll break down the Super Draft results.
Yeah, we'll know what Atlanta does. I mean, picking 19, it's kind of weird. Like, I could see them picking somebody. I could see them trading down.
I see them trading down.
Potentially.
And they did really a masterful job in last year's draft of being able to trade down and still get someone who they could have taken in the top 10 in Josh Bauer.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. I think a lot of it depends on what happens in front of them. And there's just – it's so hard to predict with this because of just the college game in general. And you got guys changing positions and guys from smaller schools. So it'll be a crapshoot. We'll see what they do. We'll talk about it on Wednesday.
All right. See you guys. See you at Twitch Pitch.
Thanks, Mike. There we go. All right. Jarrett, you're going to hang with us for the next 20 minutes or so as we wrap up.
Yeah.
Here's one for you that I think is very funny. Florian Plettenberg is giving the update on Dembele. Ousmane Dembele at Barcelona. Plettenberg has been told, because people are saying that Dembele could end up at Bayern. That keeps getting thrown out, and I haven't really bought into it very much, and this is why. Plettenberg says, been told that Xavi was nearly speechless when he got the information what Dembele demanded for a contract extension. 43 million euro before tax per year plus 7 million euro add-ons. Wow. What? Is he high?
On himself. Rather high opinion of himself.
Are his agents drunken fools? What in the world is that all about? There's no way he goes to Bayern. I don't know where he goes because I think he's going to price himself out of the clubs where he would actually be a good fit for. And I don't think the big clubs that could pay that kind of money would for him. There's no way they should.
I mean, if somebody comes to me and sits there and says, you know what I'm worth?
When you've barely played in like 4 years for this club.
And I'm worth 50 million for an entire year. I sit there and it's like, okay, that's a rather nice opinion that you have of yourself. Peace out, Boy Scout. See you later.
If you said peace out, Boy Scout to somebody, John, that would be highly entertaining.
Hey, give it time. But 50 million, 43 plus 7 for a dude that's barely played. That's what I think I'm worth. Well, I think you're worth a lot less, and we'll see you later. Meeting over.
Jarrett, how much would you pay for Ousmane Dembele?
What do you have in your wallet?
I think I have like $15 left on a gift card, like a Visa gift card.
That might be about all.
Yeah,
at this point.
Man, this is one of those weird cats, though, because 5 years ago it felt like Dembele was going to be one of those guys who you moved down the road for 80 million, and didn't laugh at it when it happened.
Yeah.
That's the important part.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to leave Barcelona on a free, I think, and he's going to sign. If all he wants is money, he is going to get the crazy golden briefcase from Al Nassr.
Yeah.
Like that's what he'll get, because you're not going to be able to ask for that kind of money from a legitimate, contending club without being laughed out of the room or whatever was on the snack tray being thrown at you. Like it's just, it ain't going to happen. Fabrizio Romano is tweeting a few things. Number one, Erling Haaland will not leave in January, according to Borussia Dortmund CEO Watzke. No way is the quote. Who accepts to sell top European striker during the winter break when they don't have to? He told Der Spiegel. Sure. I mean, I don't think there was a whole lot of people who thought he was going to leave in January anyway, but I think what was being reported previous to this was he wanted to have a resolution to what is coming for him by the end of the month. And Watzke continued and said, next year, of course, it will be difficult to keep him. Nevertheless, we want to and we'll try. They're not, and it won't happen. And they'll get paid very handsomely, and he'll move on somewhere else. They still keep dancing around this idea of a release clause. Like, it's the most bizarre thing ever, where it's like it's reported, then it's reported that it could go up a little bit, then it's reported that it's a verbal agreement, then it's reported it's a handshake, then it's reported that they did rock paper scissors and came up with the number. Like, then it's reported that it doesn't exist. I mean, it's just absurd. He's gone in the summer, and people are still throwing out the possibility of him ended up in Barcelona. I don't know who else they're going to take out a loan with, but maybe, I guess, possibly. If you move Coutinho and get his salary off your books at least, then you're saving money there. They're getting most of his salary off their books for the rest of this season. Dembele walks out the door, you're getting his salary off your books. You're probably not going to get anything in a transfer fee. So that's a lot of salary you're going to clear. All right, if you get anything for Coutinho, if it's 10, if it's 20, if it's 30, whatever is being reported, okay, that's a little something too. I mean, maybe you sell Dest for that 30.
I mean, do you sell the club to Borussia Dortmund? Is that who the loan is to? Borussia Dortmund just owns the club now, and he plays for you.
Well, you have a membership club, Jarrett, so you can't even do that if you wanted to.
Oh my God!
I know.
I feel like the Barcelona is trying to figure out, okay, what sofa have we not looked in underneath to get the stuff in the seat cushions to try to figure out how we're going to get a deal done.
The way it happens is if Mino Raiola wants it to happen and finds a way to make it happen in some form or fashion with money being loaned from banks to Barcelona, because they got to pay some kind of a transfer fee to Dortmund that's going to be large.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to pay Haaland a large salary because he's going to demand it in that Dembele range, which is absurd. That's what we're talking about. But anyway, I don't know where it comes from because I just don't think they have the assets to sell to bring it in, but it keeps getting talked about. So it's going to keep getting talked about until he ends up putting on a shirt to somebody else. Another interesting one, Jared, I think this might be one of your favorite players of all time when we get into the Ischhausers. Diego Costa has had his contract terminated with Atletico Mineiro. He is available on a free transfer right now.
Well, damn.
Yeah, he might have kicked somebody, possibly. Yeah. I don't know. This is what he does.
Probably kicked someone at training.
Yeah, he might have kicked the owner of the club. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
You never know.
We all wanted to kick the owner of the club?
Atletico
Mineiro.
And Alex Patino.
In Brazil, too.
Hold on a second. About these other things. Alex Patino, I think I was trying to exhibit how ridiculous it is that Barcelona actually thinks they have any money. I don't know what their loans are covering and what their interest payments are in any of this. That's how mad it is. So just whatever. It ain't happening. I don't see any way to do it unless they're getting some large bank to give them a lot of money to get Erling Haaland there. And they're probably going to have Erling Haaland work at said bank to be able to pay the thing off. That's the only way it happens.
He's got a part-time teller gig that he's got to do from open till 10, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. He's a teller at the bank.
Yeah, he's going to have to work it off. And Coco, the loan for the facilities reportedly doesn't have any money available for any kind of transfer fees because that facility is absurd that they're building with the renovations to the stadium and a hotel and the renovations to their basketball and indoor arena and training and everything. It's absurd. And they're building that, and they got a loan for that. And I can understand they got a loan for that because I can actually see a reasonable return on that investment at some point down the road. Their other loans, I don't know how many other loans they're going to get because I think they're like $2 billion in the hawk right now. Good luck. Diego Costa, you want him to come be a backup in Atlanta, Jared?
No, we know who needs to come be a backup and who won't come be a backup.
Who needs to be a backup?
Pulga.
Yeah, well, Pulga's going to play in the Copa Libertadores at Cologne. But yes,
I know.
If we can hijack that move, I am all in on bringing Pulga to Atlanta to be the backup for Joseph Martinez. I am absolutely in. But Pulga's still nutmegging everybody in sight in Argentina, so I don't think he's ready to be a backup yet.
Well, you just have to get kicked like 12 more times, and he's going to decide, I'm just going to get kicked in America.
Nah, the thing is, he's so crafty at like 36 years old that he generally avoids getting kicked. He's quick. He's quick. He's not going to outrun you, but he's going to nutmeg you 5 times before you know what happened, and then you're going to try to kick him, and he's going to avoid it. But yes, if we can bring Pulga, I'm all in.
Oh,
but it looks like he is going to Cologne, where he won the Copa de la Liga with them, and then went to Gimnasia for the league season. Looks like he's going to leave Gimnasia and go back to Cologne as they get ready for Copa Libertadores coming up to the season, which will be awesome to see. La Pulga would nutmeg everybody if he went through the Delta Club and anybody said anything to him, he would somehow nutmeg them and then reverse nutmeg them before they even knew what happened. It'd be amazing.
Oh, could you imagine just going through the Delta Club, just through the concourse on signing day where he nutmegs like Darren and nutmegs Carlos and Pineda and every member of the press that's there at the presser. He goes through all of the different sets of the tripods. He nutmegs all the tripods of the news crews and everybody that's there.
I don't know if you nutmeg a tripod, John. I don't think that counts.
He would become the legend of this league when he nutmegs Don Garber while being given the trophy.
Oh, he'd do it too. Every referee in the league would get nutmegged. Atlanta should make him captain just to go out for that, to nutmeg every referee in the league. I'm down to do it.
Oh my God, that'd be great.
Man,
I'm in. You
he's
got
gonna
5
get sent off before the game even starts. This is also the same kind of energy of a guy, though, who walking out for MLS Cup or US Open Cup final, he would walk out onto the field and touch the trophy on the way.
No, I don't know if he's that guy. Gabby Goal is that guy.
No, Gabby Goal did it and then won the trophy, so I can't say anything.
Gabby Goal did it and won the trophy. He also did it and lost the trophy this past time because everybody was waiting to see if he'd do it again, and he did, and they lost. So he's 1 for 1, I guess, in this regard, or 1 for 2.
1 for 2.
Yeah, 1 for 2 in this regard. Gabby Goal's one who's being linked with moves to England. I don't know if England's ready for Gabby Goal if he goes over there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to make any sense here, but I like that we're getting all these crazy things happening. I like it. I don't think Pulga would touch the trophy on the way out. No, I don't think he's that guy. He'd nutmeg the guy with he'd nutmeg the guy in white gloves who's standing next to the trophy.
Yes,
but I don't think he would touch the trophy. I think he's very respectful of the hardware.
Very Stanley Cup-ish, where you don't touch the trophy until you've won it.
I mean, that's just kind of standard. I don't think it's Stanley Cup-ish. I don't think hockey gets some special dispensation here. I think that's just standard. I have always believed in that kind of setup, and I've never played hockey.
Yeah. Don't touch it until and that's the thing. It's like when the Stanley Cup would make the tour and you go through all the news stations and it's doing the Hockey Fights Cancer thing and the Stanley Cup is in town and everybody at the news station, they want to have their picture taken with the Stanley Cup and their arms around it and everything.
And that's the thing.
I was like, literally the guy who was the caretaker of the cup, he goes, and it's white gloves and the whole thing. He's like, do you want your picture taken with it? It's like, no, I didn't earn it. And I'm not touching it. So no,
I'll get my picture taken with the thing, but I'm not touching it.
No, those
are 2 different things.
I haven't earned this right to touch it, and so I appreciate it. I'll help you unpack and pack it back into the large box, but I'm not going to touch it, and I'm not going to have a photo taken.
Yeah, I agree, Modiflo. Pulga's crazy with the nutmegs, but he's still very old school in the unwritten. He's not going to touch the trophy. I think we've come up with that. We need Polga in Atlanta. We need Polga here badly. That would be amazing. Amazing stuff. Other things that have popped up as we get ready to go into the weekend. Augsburg manager Marcus Weinzierl is saying that Ricardo Pepi's fit for the match against Hoffenheim. He said Ricardo's young, still has a few steps to go, so we will use him selectively, and I trust him to make an impact. That makes it sound like he might play this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He said before the pre-match conversation that he's having this morning, he said, Ricardo Pepi makes a great impression. We think long-term with him. He's still very young. He gives us another alternative up front. I think that's trying to downplay expectations because they didn't bring him in to be another alternative. Says, but we need to give him time. We'll be very, very careful with him. It's not his fault that the prices are so crazy. Jarrett, do we see Ricardo Pepi tomorrow in the Bundesliga?
If he's fit, you see him in the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Bring him on, let him get the round of applause. See if he can make something happen in a couple minutes. If he does, great. If he doesn't, no big deal.
Yeah, you got
until
Bayern.
Someone writes an article about, oh my God, he's a bust.
Yeah, they are at Hoffenheim tomorrow. It's one of the 9:30 games. If you're looking to check that one out, Bayern and Mönchengladbach is this afternoon, and that is reportedly still on. There were some questions that Bayern would not be able to play it with COVID absences, but it looks like that game is going to happen at this stage. I did not know, Bernd, that Marcus Weinzierl was the Bundesliga coach who froze out Michael Parkhurst when Parkhurst moved to the Bundesliga. Yeah, I didn't know that. Wow. I might have to ask Parky about that next time I talk to him. Say, what about Ricardo Pepi's new manager? What do you think about him? And then duck because Parky might start throwing things.
Oh man. Just make sure that all of the loose objects around Parky in that given moment do not exist. All the glass and all the filled cups or anything, they're out of arm's reach.
Yeah. Romano also tweeted earlier today that Lucas Digne will leave Everton. Rafa Benitez said that this morning as well, that he is going to go. 3 Premier League clubs are interested. Chelsea are still waiting to decide on what they're going to do at left back.
Yep.
He will not go to Newcastle, according to Fabrizio Romano. No way. And Lille are still trying to keep Sven Botman, although Milan is interested in Botman as well. So keep that in mind. But Newcastle, look, Jarrett, this is getting weird where Sven Botman reportedly wants to move but doesn't want to go to Newcastle. This is another player who it sounds like is not going to go to Newcastle, although it's not exactly clear if he's saying, I don't want to go to Newcastle. You know, there was that question when this all went down of, okay, they're going to spend money. They need to spend money. They're going to do this. But who are they going to be able to get right now because of the current situation they're in? They're in a relegation battle. It's not a slam dunk that they can just get anybody they want to right now.
No, I feel like that's a conversation, though, that needs to happen, not just with them, but with a lot of teams of, hey, you're in a relegation battle. We're going to do this. Can you get what you need? Are you going to go try and if you can't get exactly what you need, are you going to go splash money anyway, just kind of flailing in the water?
You're going to have to overpay.
Yeah. And you need something. You need some pieces.
England, especially, you're going to overpay for everything. You're going to overpay for a cup of coffee in England.
But you need some pieces to add to that team, period, to stay up. And the decision comes down to, do you try to overpay for a guy like a Botman if there's a number that he would accept that would get him to take it, knowing that he's somebody that you want long-term because he's 21, I believe? Or do you then have to kind of overpay for somebody that's not a long-term solution, that's just a short-term fix? And that's where it can get a little tricky for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird spot to be in. I don't envy anybody for being in that spot.
It is. Roma fans will be happy to learn that the referee from yesterday's match, Milan and Roma, who was atrocious and everybody has been outraged about, the Italian media was going nuts about, that referee has been suspended from upcoming matches for his performance. Daniele Cifi. This has happened before. This is how Italy operates when you have a referee who has a bad day. It gets reported that they get suspended from doing games. It's not It's not something to get worked up about because it's something that should happen here.
Yes.
I mean, it's something that should happen in every league. When a referee like has a bad performance, yeah, they should probably have a week off. If a player has a bad performance, they get benched. You know, I mean, if a referee has a bad performance and they blow things in it that they shouldn't have, they make big mistakes, they shouldn't be working the next week. Not at the first division level, at least. This exactly, Uncle. Like this should be standard operating procedure in leagues where not where it's judgment calls that we disagree with. I'm not even worried about that. It's when VAR is not used appropriately, you're not following the laws of the game and you make mistakes, or you're misinterpreting something that there is an established interpretation about. Pro has to start doing this. And then it will be easier for everybody to follow. I think it'll be easier for everybody to understand, and it will do a lot for educating how we want games to be called. It's something that should happen more. I do like that Italy's doing it. I mean, yeah, it's harsh, but these guys are getting a paycheck too. You know, I mean, they're not out there like a parent refereeing because there's no other referee, and then they're picking up the flag and they don't know what they're doing. These are guys who are getting paid to do their job. And when they don't do their job effectively, well, there's got to be repercussions. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what this does is, the hope is anyway, that in a situation like this, that folks who are either the casual fan or even more than that, they understand the instance and the context of what was wrong, what was misrepresented, or what was called incorrectly. So it turns into a learning experience for those who are watching the game, in as much as it is a reminder for those who are officiating about the rules of the game and how important it is that they get everything as close to right as possible.
Jarrett, would you be okay if Pro did this going forward?
Suspended referees?
Well,
Yes.
they do. I think they do.
Publicly? Yes.
Yeah, they don't publicize it.
No, I do have an issue with that.
Right.
I do have an issue with the fact that they want to kind of do everything cloak and dagger with the way they handle out their punishments. And I think it's a huge issue. And I think it's an issue of, if nothing else, it's annoying in the sense of, public perception, because I understand you want to protect your refs from scrutiny, but, everyone else, when they screw up, they get held accountable. And you putting out some video 3 weeks after the fact that you run out of the Twitter account, and if we miss it, then you got to go back and find it. That's not accountability. It make it a public of, hey, so and so is out this week. You don't have to slander them. You don't have to say, hey, they're out because they suck at their job and they missed something last week.
Right.
You don't have to do that.
No.
You can just say, this referee, this official is not working this week. People will understand. You go back and look, oh, that's the guy, that's Tim Ford who did the thing.
Yeah.
It can get pretty clear who messed up. People remember the names of the officials, especially in this league, when they do stuff.
Just say, because I'm with you. It's not about attacking referees. It's not about slandering them. It is about holding referees accountable, because there are other referees coming. And if younger referees come up and do a better job, then they keep their jobs. And the referees who keep making mistakes don't keep their jobs. Pro has to figure out how transparent they want to be, because they kind of waddle back and forth along the line, and you can't do that. You got to be one or the other. If they don't want to be transparent at all, stop the YouTube thing, picking selective things and not covering others. Drop the written piece that then covers other things that don't get covered in the YouTube piece. And that's where you might criticize somebody. Like, drop all that where it's like pick and choose and do this and do that. And if you don't want to be transparent, then drop all of it.
Yeah.
You want to be transparent, do it, and include when somebody doesn't work the next week because of mistakes that were made in a game. Just include it in the assignments. Just say they're not working this week because of whatever you want to say, or because they're being forced to work in USL Championship for a week, or whatever. Like, however you want to play it.
Pro's decision, however you want to do it.
Yeah. Pro decision, assignment decision, whatever. Like, whatever you want to do, but be transparent. because there needs to be competition for those spots. And I think one of the biggest issues with refereeing in this country that happens the higher you go is it gets very political. And I've talked to guys who have worked in pro, who are like lower level, haven't been in MLS, but have worked in the pro assignment system. I've talked to guys who have been part of it and left it. And politics comes up a lot, and it shouldn't. It shouldn't be who you know to get these assignments. And once you get those assignments, it shouldn't be a lifetime assignment. If you keep doing the job, you keep getting booked.
Mhm.
If you don't, and you want to keep working at the pro level, you might have to drop down a level because somebody might beat you out for that MLS spot. And that's just a fact. Like, that's okay. We want the best referees. So let's act like it and let's create a system that gets us the best referees. I hope it happens. I hope not to attack referees over judgment calls. That's not what I want. But when you get the situations that we have seen multiple times where rules are being applied incorrectly, VAR is being used incorrectly, or you're following interpretations that the league has said we're not doing, then get it right. Just get it right. And if you got to make some changes and who's getting assigned, well, then that's what you got to do. That's welcome to the world. Let's put on the adult pants and let's go.
I mean, think about it like in Major League Baseball. You've got the prospect at AAA who's hitting 360, or the pitcher who is lights out in AAA, and you promote them, and there's that veteran that's got the ERA of 6 and is getting lit up. It's time for that kid to get his chance if he's proven that in each and every level that he's ready for the shot at the bigs. And to have that pitcher that's getting lit up, it's bad for the product. It's bad for what you're trying to present. So it just makes sense to do these kinds of things, because to have the younger officials, and especially in this year of transition that we're going to be seeing with pro, because we lost a couple of senior officials this year, I want to know who those younger officials are going to be that are going to be taking those slots. And I want to see how they perform going into this season too.
I want to touch on Bernd and Coco's comments, and then we'll finish up. Bernd said, "But is there a large enough base to pick from?" And Coco said, "No, because right now there's a large drop off in quality from MLS to USL Championship refs. You're not looking for the overall USL Championship pool to jump up to MLS, because no, the entire pool of MLS refs is better than the entire pool of USL Championship refs. There is crossover between those pools to understand." But yeah, and that's as it should be. The higher the level, the ref should be better. But I'm of the opinion that if you have a referee who is to the point that they should be dropped for a week and it should be publicly acknowledged, like, again, I don't want it because they made a judgment call that we don't like. That's not what I'm asking for here. I'm asking for applications of rules, applications of policies. If you have a referee who gets the how many strikes it needs to take for them to get bumped down a level or to get moved or held out of an assignment for that week, then you're bringing up the best of the next level. And I would rather see somebody new get the opportunity than somebody who is continually making the same mistakes. And if they don't cut it, then let's go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's fine. That's just part of it. I don't want to say like, no, you can't have other refs come up because they're not good or they're in the lower level. Like, you got to try. I'd rather at least go into a game and say, well, I don't know who this referee is. They've worked 20 times a season in USL Championship. Let's see how they handle moving up, versus, oh, we know how this ref is and they make this mistake consistently, and oh yeah, we're in for it today. I don't want to have that conversation. Brad Martin asked about any idea on how big the referee pools are. I mean, roughly it's the same level of the pools of professional games. You know, you've got every weekend, you've got to have referees who are working 14 games in MLS now. I think 14 to 16 games in USL Championship. So, you know, that's 28 to 30. Another 5 or so in USL League One. Another handful who are working NISA. And these are the pro level refs. I'm not even getting into the guys who might, you know, pick up a game here and there in NPSL or USL League Two or UPSL or anything like that. And I'm not even going to include the crossover with NWSL. And there is some crossover with some referees who work on both sides of that. So, I mean, that's your pool of centers. And then remember that you've probably got more than that because you've got centers, current guys working as centers who are doing VAR in MLS, but are also doing fourth official jobs around all of the levels. So, and you've got more coming. Like, there, you have to go to the next generation at some point. And the idea that you can't because they haven't shown they can do it yet, well, you take the best one and you see if they can do it. And if they can't, then you go to the next best one and you find out. That's the only way that it's going to get better. Because if you keep sticking with the same people, keep making the same mistakes, then you're going to have the same mistakes made all the time. And yes, Coco, I want to see long-term the VAR pool be a separate pool. I want it to be a separate pool like the AR is a separate pool where there's not crossover there, and the VARs are not center referees on a day off from the field. I don't want to see that anymore. Fourth, absolutely fine. VAR should be somebody separate. All right, let's run through the games really quick around the world that are of interest this weekend. Bayern and Mönchengladbach today at 2:30. The Liga MX Clausura started last night. Puebla got the win, Pachuca got the win last night over Atlético San Luis on the road. Puebla plays tonight. 2 games in Mexico this evening. Are they both 2-day NA games, John? Do you know?
Believe they are. I'll double check.
I think that no big deal. No big deal. I think they are. Juarez hosting Necaxa, Puebla hosting Club America. Tomorrow, you got FA Cup, as Niall and John broke down earlier. You've got Real Madrid hosting Valencia, Granada hosting Barcelona in Spain. You got a pretty full slate in Germany. Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Dortmund at 12:30 is probably the best game of the day. Although Leverkusen and Union Berlin and the Hoffenheim-Augsburg game at 9:30, both of those are interesting. That's all on ESPN+. And then Sunday, you have AFCON getting started. But when I looked at it before, BN had not picked up those games on Sunday yet. BN does have the rights to the competition. Their schedule can be a little fluid at times. I'm going to look and see. It looks like they have picked them up now, and they're going to carry all of it, which is good. 11 o'clock, Cameroon and Burkina Faso. 2 o'clock, Ethiopia and Cape Verde. And Cape Verde went into training camp with 21 positives. They have a 28-man roster. We'll see what things look like for that team on Sunday at 2 o'clock. You've also got Women's Super League. You got more FA Cup then. You got Ligue 1 back underway. Big game with Lyon hosting PSG. That is a big one. And you got Serie A on Sunday as well. Venezia hosting Milan, Napoli hosting Sampdoria, Roma hosting Juve, and Inter hosting Lazio. That's a pretty good doubleheader, 12:30 and 2:45.
3 matches already postponed on the weekend. Cagliari, Bologna, Torino, Fiorentina, and Udinese and Atalanta.
Probably going to be more. I'm assuming those are postponed due to local health authorities as opposed to the number of players available. That's where Italy can get very complicated. So that'll do it for us for the weekend. We will be back on Monday. We'll get you caught up on FA Cup. We'll get you caught up on AFCON and all the other games going on. Thanks for hanging out with us this week on our new platform, our new setup. Thanks for all the kind words. We're going to continue down this road and try to add little pieces to it as we go, add more guests because it's a lot easier to do that with this setup. Maybe even add some video occasionally from Jarrett Smith.
Yeah, sure. You've gotten like 2 in a week. That's
I know.
That's a plethora.
More than in the last 2 years combined.
It pretty much is.
Yeah, it pretty much is. Maybe, I mean, it's a new year. Anything can happen.
I promise you nothing.
Yeah, I know. I know how it is. All right, that'll do it for us. Y'all have a good weekend. Try to stay warm, at least if you're in the Southeast, because, man, it's getting cold. And I know it's really cold over in Huntsville. Will's freaking out. He's yelling in all caps again. Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.
Mucho platio.